Hi everybody, welcome to Amy Nolte Music. I have been strangely fascinated lately by Electric Light Orchestra. I've been listening to their entire catalog. I've loved them for years and years, and lately I've just decided to learn everything I can about them and really dive into their music. So today's video is about Strange Magic, the second single released from the album Face the Music in 1975. 76 was when the single was released. Strange Magic was written by Jeff Lynne, and I'll talk way more about the production and the instrumentation and the music theory of this song. If you'd like to hear the extended version of this video that'll have longer musical clips and a little bit more structured rambling from me, you can watch that on Nebula. More about that at the end. Let's get over to the keyboard today. I've got my Korg SV-33. The track starts out with strings. You can only hear this on the original version. Sometimes if you hear it on the radio, like the single edit won't include it. There's a very low E flat that goes through the whole thing. And at the top, we have E flat major. Arpeggios. And we have a melody that it goes. Ooh. Then the strings shift. We still have the E flat, and the melody is here. You can call this chord F sharp minor with a major 6 in it, so F sharp minor 6. Ooh, we still have this E flat. Ooh, we change to F minor just for a second, and then we change to an A flat minor 6. Ooh. And if you listen closely, right at the end, one of the strings plays a D, and the E flat's still coming through. So we can think about this chord in many ways. My favorite way is to think about it like F half diminished over E flat, but there is that slight D in there, which makes me think that for a second they want to really fool you, like they're playing a B flat 7 sus, like we've got this E flat in there, right? And also the third, so it's like B flat 11 almost, but it has this flat 9. Anyway, it's this really cool chord, and it really makes you think that we're gonna go right back to E flat, but it doesn't. That's right. It goes to maybe the very least expected place that there is from E flat major. We go to G major. How crazy is that move? It's nuts. It's magical. Okay, so right off the bat, we've got the sweeping strings. I told you in the thumbnail, I'm going to tell you why Strange Magic feels so strangely magical. So far, we've got a couple of reasons. We've got those sweeping strings playing beautiful arpeggios. And the second thing is that we go to a completely different friggin' universe from E flat to G major to start the song. I don't know why they did that. You would think that maybe the track that precedes was in E flat. It wasn't really. So that doesn't really make sense. It just seems to come from out of nowhere. It's like it sets the stage. It makes me think about other worlds. It's strangely magical. Now, when Richard Tandy played keys on this, live on stage, he would play a Wurlitzer. So I have my Korg SV-33 changed now from piano and strings to a beautiful warm Wurlitzer sound. And we have this beautiful guitar line that starts right at the top that goes like this. That's just G major to C minor with a major 7, and then back to G. But also we have what I think is probably a piano and a synth together playing this other line in there that goes do, 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 do. And we'll hear that echo as the song goes on. So And that's magical also, to have major 7 to minor 7 to 6 and back. It's kind of a James Bondy sound, but it doesn't sound James Bond right here at all. And then the guitar is very featured. And then the guitar does like this. And while it does that, the synth does like this. Which is what it did before. It just goes la da 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 da. It's beautiful arranging. The arranging was likely done by Jeff Lynne, Richard Tandy, and Lewis Clark. Probably a combination of the three of them. I can't exactly find out who did what, but Clark was hired as an arranger, and he worked with ELO from the album El Dorado onward. And Richard Tandy, well, he started out as the bass player, but when Bill Hunt left with Roy Wood back in 1972, Richard Tandy switched from bass to playing keys. He was also one heck of a guitar player. As you can hear, it's Richard Tandy that plays this line. That's him, because apparently Jeff Lynne couldn't wrap his fingers around having to play that line. I don't think I ever could either, but it's such a gorgeous opening. And then we're here at the beginning with this simple rocking back and forth Wurlitzer. And I think that there is another piano in there also, because you can hear octaves. If you listen, you hear this, and you also hear. Sailing softly through. Jeff Lynne was a wizard in the studio. Absolutely amazing producer, and he makes choices like this all along that are pure magic. So the production is another thing that makes this so strangely magical, but that's true of any ELO track. Now I'm going to do a thing that I've never done before. I have found a couple of live recordings of Strange Magic. This one is from 1976 in London, and it's a nice remastered video. You can look it up on YouTube, which is where I found it. It starts with Bev Bevan out front with a tambourine introducing the song. Now, Beverly Bevan was one of the original members of ELO. He had moved over from the band The Move. He was the drummer. The drums on the track are amazing and tight and good, but when they would play this live, Bev would come out front because he was part of the backing vocals. He has a very important low baritone part that you can hear later, actually bass in some parts. But he just steps out front with a tambourine, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play along so you can see these parts as we go along. And they're going to skip the strings part, just start where this single track starts. You can hear that it's Richard Tandy that plays it in this recording, and they don't do guitars. Sailing softly through the sun in a broken stony stone. You fly so high. Okay, to this point, we just stay in G, and it's just really nice. And ELO does what they do in other tunes as well, other songs as well, which is a great use of augmented chords. They do it often, and I think it's a very, their logo is that spaceship. I think it's a space-sounding kind of thing to raise the fifth. We just go G, then we're going to change back to this. I mean, it's like G augmented with over C, or you can think of it as a C minor with a raised seventh. Then it goes back. Back to G augmented this. You fly so high. We've got G6, which had also happened in the intro. Now, to me, I think we need one more bar, right? You fly so high, so high. It just feels like it needs another bar, but they surprise you. It's another thing that makes it strangely magical. Don't get tired of me saying it. It's the point of the video. It's the reason I'm making it. So they surprise you, and they come in not in the key of G, but all of a sudden in the key of C with a D minor chord. The bass does like this. Just D minor to E minor 3 times. It's very minimal drums if you listen to the original track that Jeff Lynne plays. He would play his 12-string guitar using a phase shifter, and that is the celestial kind of crazy synthy sound that you hear that happens on every chorus. When they play it live, most of the time they do not use that. He just plays a 6-string acoustic, and most of the live performances I find you can't hear that phaser sound. I get a strange magic. But it is strangely magical. It's pretty cool that Richard Tandy can play that opening both on the guitar and on the piano, right? Richard Tandy passed away in May. It was extremely sad. Very talented man. Now we also need to talk about the strings. Mick Kaminsky played violin with ELO for years and years. Also Hugh McDowell played cello, and Melvin Gale played cello. Some other time I'm going to make a video talking about the history of ELO and the importance of the strings, but that was the dream right from the beginning. Roy Wood, Jeff Lynne, they wanted to kind of take off where the Beatles left off, like after I Am the Walrus, and add more orchestra. So in the studio, these strings, they're doubled, tripled, quadrupled to sound like a full orchestra all the time because Jeff Lynne was a genius. But on stage, it was only ever cello, cello, violin. You can also hear Bev Bevan on the low part. Strange magic, right here. Hear him. Now listen closely and you'll hear that Jeff Lynne is actually singing Strange Magic down here on this A. Strange magic. And we've got somebody else up on the high vocal. Strange magic. They're in sixths. There's a third harmony part in there, so the notes are here. And, I mean, Bev Bevan, that is so low for a man. Gets him right down to Johnny Cash territory. Crazy low. Hard to do live. Until Jeff Lynne hops up. Gotta. And there's still a voice on top right there. We've got thirds going on. This time when we return to the guitar intro, it's only 2 bars of it, and then we hop right into the next verse. Ooh, do you hear that? We've got this. Also, we have strings. Do, 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 do. Also, on this live recording, Bev Bevan lightly plays the tambourine through these sections, but on the recording, there are no drums in this verse. Not even the second verse, no drums. Now, the second time that we hear the chorus, we have strings holding low notes as we go, strange magic. Ooh. We just got cellos holding that, but the excitement happens in the violins because what they do is they start on this A note and they're going to cruise all the way up to this high C. I don't even know if my camera's panned out far enough for you to see that, but they play triplets and they sound like this. like that. A little faster. It's hard for me to do, but yeah, they zoom. And they never did this live that I can find anywhere until just like a year or two ago at a concert in Los Angeles. It's absolutely strangely magical. This time we've got drum fills happening. Strange man. And then we go back to the guitar opening. Right? But this time the drums keep going. The genius of the arranging. The track really feels like it's going to start to kick in. And you wonder, is this a third verse? It seems like it's going to be, or is this a bridge? I really don't have the answer. It's kind of like both. Also, it's interesting to me that this time between second and third verses, they repeat the guitar figure. It happens over the course of 4 bars instead of 2, like between the first and second verse. Now we've got the strings doing some crazy stuff. Now we can hear this one, ha, 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 ha. Strings are on that. I think vocals are on it also. And you've also got the strings just bouncing. So instead of going, they're going. So it's not the same harmony as the verses were, right? The verses were, and now we're, I never gonna be same again. Right? So it's different. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a bridge. All right. But only for a little bit. Oh, I can see how this ends. But then it's right. Right. Then it sounds exactly like the ends of the other verses did. So high, I get. That's why it's a little confusing to me, but I do think it's a bridge. Especially by this third chorus here. I think we're hearing the females in the backing vocals at this point. It's a little bit hard to tell, but I kind of think I do hear them, and more voices are going to get added to the end. Also, when we get to, I got a strange magic, we just have strings going, It's about to get more exciting. It's magic. Listen to him. What does that remind you of? Sounds a lot like Led Zeppelin, doesn't it? While the strings are juking. During this part, Richard Tandy is playing the original opening part that he played on guitar on the keyboard. It's magic. We've got more vocals coming in here. It's magic. It's magic. This time we have strange magic. Strings. We didn't have that before. Everything gets added and added until it's more and more magical all the way to the end. This last time through the chorus, we get the excitement I was talking about. The cellos are going to go, I got a strange magic. And I love the way that G gets anticipated. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. They could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and had it hit right there on 1, which is what all of us jazz musicians would do. Don't lie, you would. I like the anticipation. I think it's super hip. All right, next time. Strange magic. This part reminds me of Jack Black in School of Rock because they come in and they're like, ooh, la 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 la. Right? Can't you just imagine Jack Black saying, ladies, we're going to need a little la 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 right at this part. So this is exactly the kind of stuff he was talking about. Listen, we've got an echo coming in. Hey, hey. More vocals. And the track ends with strange magic. a bunch of times we just fade out, and that's where we're left. So another vocalist that I probably didn't mention was Kelly Grocott. I think that he was on this track as well. Kelly Grocott also played bass, of course. The female vocalists that may have been there as well are Ellie Greenwich, I don't know how to say that, Greenwich maybe, Susan Collins, Nancy O'Neill, Margaret Raymond, and of course the string players that were dynamite on stage and off stage for years and years with ELO. You can see the extended cut of this video on Nebula. That's my streaming service. I say mine because I helped build it with other creators, other amazing creators who like to go a little deeper than you might go on YouTube. Nebula is a platform. It's for thoughtful content. It's for content that takes you a little bit further. Maybe for people with a bigger attention span than you might have if you're just watching a YouTube video that's flashy with lots of cuts and everything. There's no algorithm that pushes you anywhere on Nebula. You go there, you look up what you want. I mean, there are suggestions, but after you're there, there's no likes, there's no comments, there's no view count, nothing that can crush my ego. There's no ads ever. So it's this safe space, if you will, to go deeper. Like I said, my show Quarter Notes is there. I've interviewed Larry Goldings, Dennis Ham, Jackie Terrison, Jacob Mann. You can see all four of them. They're under the Classes tab. You can also, in the Classes tab, see the classes that I've produced with Nebula. Everything I know about chords, part 1 and part 2. If you like this kind of stuff that we've been talking about, you can learn how to do it. I'm not even kidding. In my Everything I Know About Chords class, I walk you through it. Even if you've never played a chord before in your life, you'll be able to by the time you're finished watching. It's kind of like a master class, it's a couple hours long. You should sit at your instrument during it. If you'd like to learn to improvise better, I've got a class called Creating Motifs for Jazz Improvisation. I can show you how to make meaningful motifs, make your own melodies that mean something. Nebula is a place where I put extended cuts of videos like this one. You see the smaller cut on YouTube, but you'll see the full cut on Nebula, where I'm allowed to play longer clips of the songs that I talk about because I'm educating you about them, and why shouldn't I be able to play longer clips? All it's going to do is make you want to go listen to these people's songs, right? You can sign up for Nebula by clicking the code right here. It's $36 for the entire year. That's $3 a month, which is less than buying 1 cup of coffee the whole month. It's a really good move if you'd like to support me. And you can also support all the other creators on Nebula making all kinds of content that runs across the board. Everything from music to pop culture, movies, history, you name it, you're going to learn about it on Nebula. You can hear other great music creators that I love, like Adam Neely and Mary Spender, and 12-tone music, and polyphonic, and Charles Cornell. All of them are going deeper on Nebula. You can also watch amazing, beautifully produced Nebula originals, like one of my favorite shows, Jet Lag, the series. Sign up for Nebula by clicking the code. It gives you a big discount if you use my code, $36 for the year. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you next time on Amy Nolte Music.